Good afternoon, Tsupiteros, and welcome to another edition of Pillow Talks. Before I begin, I'd like to thank one of my sponsors, APS Online. If you'd like to trade with a broker that has excellent research, do trade with APS Online. Okay, so let me start off again by discussing to you the market. Well, it's been a pretty boring market again for the last 5 days. The market has just been slowly drifting lower and lower every day with not much volatility. If you look at it from a bigger perspective, you can see that in the medium-term chart that I have here, in the 4-month chart that I have here, that prices are now consolidating in the apex of this consolidation. No? So we're now very near the decision point of this consolidation, this area here, you know. So in the last couple of months, we've been going up and down between 5,700 and around 6,100, and now we're right smack in the middle of that range. I don't think it's gonna take very long now before this market begins to make a decision and starts to trend. We're now just a few days away from the traditionally bullish fourth quarter period. So even though the market seems to be quite weak right now in the short term, I'm still quite hopeful that in the next couple of weeks, we will turn up and be bullish going towards the fourth quarter. Okay, so in the short term though, I expect the market to probably retest the 5,700 to 5,750 levels. For the market to start turning up in the short term though, we need to take out at least the 6,000 level. Otherwise, you know, we'll just be range trading at best in the short term. So before I continue with my video for today, I'd like to thank my other sponsor, AAA Equities. If you'd like to trade with a broker that allows you to do automated stops and breakout orders, do trade with AAA Equities. Okay, so you know, there's not much happening in the market in the last 5 days except for what else, you know, the fourth telco. So I've decided to just dedicate this edition of Pillow Talks to no other than NOW Corporation. Okay, so I created a PowerPoint presentation here to discuss to you about NOW. Okay, so let's compare first the market cap of NOW as against the market cap of the other telecom companies. So the biggest company right now in terms of market cap is PLDT with 292 billion market cap. Second, we have Globe at 282 billion market cap. Assuming that Dito will be using its entire increase in authorized capital stock of 40 billion shares, then the stock at 420 per share is actually trading right now at 168 billion market cap. Now, because it hasn't really raised any capital yet for its investments in NOW Telco, is still trading at just under 5 billion market cap and is just trading at 1.7 billion shares. Okay, so, but of course, we assume that in the future, in the coming weeks and months, now will most probably be issuing more shares and will be um, uh, raising capital to fund its expansion for its NOW Telco. Okay, so don't expect now to become like 150 billion market cap without changing the number of outstanding shares, no? So next, I have here a slide of the top shareholders of Now Corp. So 54% of its total outstanding shares are in the public's hands or in the PCD nominee corporation. The second top shareholder is Top Mega Enterprises, then followed by Velarde Incorporated. Under the PCD, you have here Call as the top shareholder, and then Venture Securities, followed by Unicap, BPI, and AP Securities. If under its breakdown of revenues right now, only 37% of the company's revenues are into broadband services. Okay, the other revenues of the company are into sort of like manpower outsourcing. In terms of its revenue and income, the company has revenues of about 220 million every year and has an annual income of 10 million a year. Okay, so the biggest asset of Now, according to its current balance sheet, is a 1.5 billion peso investment in NOW Telecom. This investment in NOW Telecom is equivalent to 19% equity in NOW Telecom. So, NOW Telecom, as you know, has a franchise until 2043 to operate a mobile telecom system. So what's the big deal in NOW Corporation recently? Well, news came out a few days ago that the NTC has extended the provisional authority of NOW Telco to operate a mobile telecom system nationwide. So this provisional authority was supposed to expire in March 2022, but was now extended by the NTC, which is this is precisely the reason why Now started to move again. So these are the terms of the provisional authority. The company is subject to the infusion of 1.9 billion capital in the first 2 years, and with a total capital requirement of 15.9 billion in the next 5 years. If you look at its current balance sheet, the company only has about 10 million pesos in cash right now. So how will the company fund this big of an investment? Well, of course, most likely they will be issuing either shares or they will be issuing bonds. Okay. So the terms of the provisional authority is that the NTC requires a 70-30 ratio with regards to its broadband network rollout services in the country, wherein 70% will be allotted to the urban areas and 30% will be allotted to the rural areas. Along with the news that the NTC has extended its provisional authority for NOW Telecom, the company also stated that they are planning to list in the Philippine Stock Exchange by way of listing by introduction. So I guess they foresee that they will be needing a lot of funds in the future. So listing the company in the Philippine Stock Exchange will have allow them the avenue to raise more funds in the future. So the good part of investing with NOW Corporation is that it's like you are given an opportunity to invest in a very young PLDT or a very young Globe Telecoms, okay? So that's the good thing, okay? The bad thing is they will need an enormous amount of capital raising in the next couple of years, no? And most likely, they will be doing this through the issuances of shares. So, of course, if they issue shares, current shareholders will get diluted, no? So, that's the bad thing about it. In the last couple of months, these are the placements and advances to equity on the company. No, a few years ago, I think Mr. Velarde had made advances to NOW Corporation so that it can. It's like he financed the business in the early goings. And now that the company is slowly starting to make money, he is trying to recoup those investments by getting more shares, no? So these are the advances to equity. And if I'm not mistaken, in its balance sheet, there are still about 209 million worth of these deposits for future stock subscriptions. With regards to these three advances to equities, only this 264 million peso advances to equity have been approved by the shareholders already. The others, this one has yet to be approved, and this one has yet to be approved. The problem with these advances to equity is that, for example, the current price of right now is what, 293, 294, and these advances are converted at what, 2 peso and 18 cents, 1 peso and 70 cents. So there is a risk, of course, there is a temptation that Mr. Velarde could probably sell the shares right now. Of course, no, because he's already making almost 50% his money at current levels, and that's, if he wanted to recoup his investments, he can just easily sell the shares at current levels. Okay, so there is also news a couple of days ago of a placement via convertible preferred shares and some common shares at 225 per share. So again, you will see more and more of these placements in NOW Corporation in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years, because it's a way for the company to raise money to expand their and to finance its move to the telecom sector. So what do the shareholders need right now? Well, of course, I think first and foremost, the shareholders would need to have a clarity on how NOW Telco will actually raise funds. If I were someone who wanted to invest in NOW Telco or NOW Corporation, I would want to know how much will I get diluted if I invest at current levels, no? How much shares will be issued in the future? So that's the primary risk of shareholders of NOW right now. So I need to know what my risks are, and that's exactly the biggest risk in investing in NOW Corporation right now. Another need of the shareholders would be the timeline of when NOW Telco can actually reap the benefits of the investments. No, the biggest question is, when can Now Telco actually make money? So of course, if I wanted to invest in, although it's actually making a little money right now, no, it has yet to benefit from the Now Telco. They're still gonna put up the facilities. They're still gonna put up the infrastructure to create a fourth telco in the industry. So it's gonna take time. It's gonna take a lot of investments. It's gonna take time. And of course, as an investor, as a shareholder in the company, I want to know when will I actually get my money back, or when will I make money from this investment. Okay. So here's a hypothetical scenario. The initial capital requirements for the next 5 years is about almost 16 billion pesos. So assuming that I will be raising 16 billion from Now Corporation alone, okay, then it means that I will be issuing 8 billion at about 2 pesos per share. Okay, why 2 pesos? Because the placements here and the advances to equity are at 225, at 218, at 170. So I presume that if Now Corporation is going to issue shares right now, it will issue somewhere in that price levels as well. So if it issues shares at 2 pesos per share, then and it needs to raise about 16 billion pesos, then they will need about 8 billion shares. Okay? So assuming it issues 8 billion shares, the total outstanding shares will become 9.7 billion. Multiply that with the current price in the market of 293, then you have a market cap of 28.42 billion. But now remember, Now Corporation only owns 19% of Now Telco, okay? They don't own 100% of Now Telco. So at 28.42 billion divided by 19%, then it's as if you are actually valuing Now Telco at 150 billion pesos at current levels of Now Corporation. Okay? So if we do a sort of like a sensitivity analysis here, at 2 pesos per share, it's like you are presuming that you are valuing Now Telco at 100 billion market cap. And at 4 pesos per share, you are valuing Now Telco at about 200 billion market cap. Okay, this is just a hypothetical scenario, and some of the presumptions here are that only Now Corporation will be raising funds and not Now Telco. Okay, but of course, if Now Telco is going to eventually list in the Philippine Stock Exchange, then I expect share issuances as well in Now Telco and in Now Corporation. Okay. Another presumption here is that only 15.9 billion is needed. Okay, but you have to remember that's just the initial capital required to start off being the fourth telco in the industry. PLDT and Globe actually spends about 15 billion a year in capital expenditures. So you can just imagine how much capital and money they would be needing in the next couple of years if they are really going to contend with PLDT, Globe, and Dito. All right? And of course, the company may also have a mix of financing. They may either issue shares, they may issue bonds, they may get a loan from a bank. There are other avenues that they can raise money for their capital requirements. So the verdict at the moment, let me just show you the chart of Now here in my MetaStack. Okay, so this is I think a 2-year chart of Now Telco, Now Corporation. you'll notice that every time it hits about for something, 4 pesos, here you had the high of about 430. In August last year, you had a high of 478. And just recently, it made a high of 4 pesos and 30 cents. So you'll notice every time it hits that level, or every time it hits that area, prices tends to encounter resistances and goes back down. And on the other hand, every time it hits around 2 pesos, well, let's just exclude this area of the chart last March when the whole market tanked. Every time it goes down to about 2 pesos per share, prices tends to find support and climbs back up. Again, in my hypothetical scenario here, the market is presuming 100 billion market cap for NOW Telco at 2 pesos per share of NOW Corporation. And the market is assuming 200 billion market cap for NOW Telco every time NOW Corporation is at 4 pesos per share. So just by looking at this chart, just by having those presumptions in mind, you want to buy NOW Corporation as close to 2 pesos as possible, and you want to sell NOW Corporation as close to 4 pesos as possible. So that's it for this edition of Pillow Talks. Do subscribe and like our video in YouTube. So that's it. See you again next week. Bye.